Hello, welcome Piotr in DDM DDDM podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're currently doing?
Hi, I'm Piotr Czarnas. I'm a founder of DQOps, and I'm also an active promoter of data quality and data governance best practices.
Mm-hmm.
My expertise is quite wide. I was working in the past as a manager of a .NET team, data engineering team, data quality teams, quality teams. The biggest team that I was managing was over 120 people.
Mm-hmm.
Over that time, I also left a work at the corporation. I started a startup in the data space. It was a data virtualization platform, but later I moved into a more promising ground, which is data quality.
And yeah, like you probably know, on the data-driven decision-making podcast, we like to talk about the problems or goals achieved through data. Now, you mentioned a little bit about data quality. So I have to ask you, what's your approach to solving this problem or this challenge about data quality? What's your process? How you approach it?
So the biggest challenge with data quality is that many companies want to use data. They are eager to start using data, especially unstructured data that was never meant for analysis. And they figure out that this data is not as promising to use, especially for AI. Also, many organizations highly depend on data, so they configure very complex data pipelines and processing logic that is fully automated, but it's very sensitive when the data structure changes, when the data is no longer flowing. So this kind of problems, either when the data set that was never used for analysis is of poor quality, or the data is not reliable, it doesn't flow smoothly. Those are two primary areas of data quality management. Make
And
the
how do
data
you
usable and make it reliable.
And what's your steps after you start the project? What's your step one and steps after that?
Well, as I mentioned, you can see that there are two steps in data quality
Mm-hmm.
management. First, it's the data quality assessment. It's called data profiling. So it's the process of accepting a new data set into your data platform. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a new data set, or there are a lot of tables already loaded into your data lake,
Mm-hmm.
but they are nobody verified. So data profiling is a process of scanning this data, choosing a list of data quality checks. Maybe you see a column, let's say a customer email address, and you say, okay, this value must be provided. It cannot be null.
Mm-hmm.
So you scan the data and you measure the percentage of records that have the customer email address. And typically you can involve a business owner, a data steward, a platform owner, and tell them, we have found that only 20% of records contain the email address. Is it good enough for you to run the business? After you ingest, you may come up with a list of data quality issues that must be solved. That's when you go back to those data asset owners, database owners, and you tell them, you have poor quality data. What do you want to do? Should we fix it? Maybe you will change the data collection process. Maybe you will add some validation. Maybe you will add some transformation to look up missing values. So that's the process to accept a new data set into a data quality process. The second step is when you already have this data set connected to your platform, you will typically test them with data quality checks. So you will use a data quality tool that can perform some validation, such as measure the number of duplicate records. You measure it just once to do the profiling, but if you want to ensure that the data is reliable, you configure frequent scans, let's say once a day or once an hour or even more frequently, to ensure that the data is still reliable. That maybe you accept, the business says, yes, we will have only 20%, or we will have the email addresses for only 20% of customers, because that's how many customers agreed to share the email address due to the GDPR regulation, but it's good enough for us. But you don't want to go beyond that, below that 20%. So that's when you start monitoring it, that it's still at least 20%.
Can you give me some examples of cases you did for your clients? Like, what was the business project and what was the result you achieved through this
We are
project?
working on huge marketing databases.
Mhm.
So the type of issues were related to changes in the data structure, like columns were reversed. A lot of issues with data reliability. So you are monitoring data freshness. So you are just check every day that the data is not older than, say, 1 day. If you expect to receive data daily, then the data should not be older than 1 day. Once the data is older, that means something has been broken on the way. Maybe the source, maybe the supplier has some issue on their side. Maybe they have credentials expired and nobody noticed that. Maybe an ETL platform has run out of disk space. There are a lot of reasons why data can stop. So in the end, all the reliability issues will appear as missing data, as data is no longer fresh because the process stopped. So this is the typical approach. The other use cases are about comparing data across systems. This will give you a very exact information if data matches across platforms. Let's say we are comparing data between the actual financial data in an ERP system to data presented in financial monitoring dashboards that were created for end users. If there is any mismatch, that means not only the data flow was disrupted, because that's what timeliness will tell you, but also that there are some maybe values in a wrong format. Maybe the budget line was assigned to a different line. So now you will see that you expect two records, one will have, let's say, 2 million, the other will have 5 million, but instead they are reversed. So maybe somebody just mixed the account names.
And what about the business results? Like, what is the value you bring to the table? I would imagine like don't having data in best possible way is significant for the companies. And I'm just curious what
Well,
value you bring.
typically the problem is that only technical users, such as data engineers, have enough access to the data and can implement validation or enrichment logic.
Mhm.
They are the only group that can fix it on the fly. If they don't do it, because that's not their typical work to review the data, then the end users and business users will just see invalid information either on dashboards, maybe some business process that is driven by data will stop working, or they will be flooded with, let's say, notifications that are irrelevant. So to avoid this kind of issues on the business affecting end users, it's important to engage technical users as early as possible to fix those problems. Data quality monitoring is about monitoring it and detecting it before users can see it. That's why if you have this set of data quality checks that you designed during data profiling, say uh, not less than at least 20% of customers should have an email address. Then the data quality platform will monitor it. It will send a notification that will be sent either to a dataset owner or maybe support team or even those data engineers who can look into the data and simply notice we ran out of disk space or something else happened or we didn't get the new files. They can investigate it before end users will notice the problem. So that's the biggest value here.
And talking about the deploying data quality platform, what's your approach to deploying this on premise or using this as a SaaS? Do you see any difference between these two approaches?
Well, a lot of customers are not interested in deploying data quality platforms in SaaS because the platforms that are very important for the business operations that you want to monitor are typically on premise. So it's quite important to have this option, especially for customers who have like highly sensitive data or they will be doing a migration from a legacy platform to even a SaaS solution. You will still want to monitor data quality in the source system. They will want to monitor data quality in their on-premise databases.
Okay. And what about basically showing data to the users, to the business stakeholders? Like, what's your approach to that? Like, where you start building the dashboard, and what is involved in this process?
So when it comes to data quality, you are not responsible for the data itself.
Mhm.
You are not building the dashboards, but you will build and you should build data quality dashboards. So some kind
Mhm.
of summary metrics to show to the business what is the health status of the tables, what are the most recent issues, how often some issues such as data timeliness or missing data appear, just to give them a rate or some score of the data reliability. So the information that is shown back to the users are usually, I think we can give three types of information to those business users. We can show them sample data just to ask them, okay, that's what we see in the data. Is it what you want? Then we can show them some metrics and data quality results performed during data profiling. We can tell them, okay, so we scan your data. In this column, 20% of records are nulls. Is it okay? This column has no unique values. Is it okay? And this column has only two duplicates, very few, but is it good or bad? And the final score are those data quality dashboards where you can show them like a chart and tell them how it will work, not on a single table level. Typically, if you have the whole data lake with hundreds of tables, you can show them the number of incidents or problems with null values, delays, and which tables were affected. We are doing that for a few projects when we were just connecting data quality checks, running them, and measuring the KPI, the health score, as the percentage of checks that passed. When we asked the data owners, tell us which column should be not null, unique. We connected those checks, and the initial KPI score was between 40 to 45%. But it doesn't mean that the data was so bad. It only means that the expectations of the data quality were so high. So it was moving into like a process of negotiation between the data quality team and the data set owner, just to tell them, you can expect that this column will have no null values. You have to accept that there will be 2% of records that will be empty, because some customers will give a written consent or rejection that they don't want their data to be stored in your system. And it was deleted on the request. And when we applied this process over a few months of like doing a big data quality project, you could observe that the first KPI level for the first month was like 40%, but every month we were improving it by, let's say, 10% until you reach the level like 99% almost. And only those issues that the customer says we can live with them, we know that those issues are present, but it's too costly to fix them, and you will constantly have like 99% of the KPI level.
And what about the team? Like, who are the usual people involved in this kind of project from the client side and from your side?
Well, I would say it depends. Many teams today who start in data quality are pure data engineering teams, so technical people. But data quality projects run by data engineers are usually focused only on detecting corrupted data, such as data in a wrong format. The true value is when you engage business users, data stewards, data asset owners, people who actually work in the business to handle the data. For example, I think in every company that has a huge CRM database, there is a dedicated person who is managing this CRM database, just deduplicating customers. So those people just, if they see a single record like a customer, they will know who that is, who that person, who that company is. So if you engage those guys, then you can define business data quality rules. Rules that say every customer in this country should have an email address because there is no GDPR and so on.
Hmm.
So this,
Okay.
but I think not too many companies right now build strong data governance or data stewardship teams to actually focus on the business value. But those that do, they can actually monitor data or detect issues that you could see later in dashboards. For example, if you have such a data stewardship team, some users notice wrong numbers on the dashboard. They go to the data steward or the data platform or database owner. They say, Here is the problem that we see. The dataset owner goes to the data quality team and says, okay, let's measure it. How often do we have a mismatch between the data on the dashboard and the data in a source system like ERP? Then you configure a data quality check that could be quite complex. We even wrote some data quality checks as SQL queries that were like 2 or 3 pages long, joining across databases, doing some calculations, because this is exactly the formula that is used in the dashboard. So if we monitor that this formula always passes, then the users will no longer notice any problems on dashboards, in training AI models, or as failures in the business process driven by data.
And thinking about the future, like, what do you think will happen in upcoming years in the terms of new technologies? Do you think like AI will take over the world, or something entirely different will happen?
Right now, AI is a very hot topic. However, we can see probably for the next few years, a lot of companies will believe that they can move into AI, but that will be at the cost of not hiring junior specialists. So later on, when the older guys will retire, there will be a gap. People who actually know how to connect those AI tools into the platforms. That's my guess, but definitely there will be a lot of work.
And on the curious thought, on the very practical level, how are you currently using AI in your day-to-day work to make yourself faster or better?
It depends where. So when you're asking what we implemented in DQOps, we implemented anomaly detection features. Because if you observe the data like the number of null values
Mhm.
or the delay, like how old is the data typically? If you let AI to detect anomalies that the delay is longer than the average, then you don't need to configure anything. The platform will just notice that, let's say, the data was on Mondays or Tuesdays, the data was always up to 1 day old. It was only older on weekends. And now on Monday, the data is 3 days old. So like the platform didn't ingest the data after the weekend, which it used to do. But that's what we did in the tool. When you're asking how I use AI personally, typically use it for like early writing texts. Like sometimes when I use AI to improve the content of articles that I post on LinkedIn, but I wasn't happy with the text that I was getting from the model, so I typically write the whole content, and I just put the prompt which says you are a better you are a version of Grammarly. Just rewrite this text without adding any ideas.
Nice, nice.
Those texts generated from the knowledge of AI models, especially on very specific topics like data quality, they were very generic. It was mostly maybe it changed recently, but maybe a year ago, whenever you asked AI to propose content of an article on data quality, it would just write an article like a proposition for like managing a business process, and it will tell you it's important to have regular meetings, communication, project manager. You could ask any question, and the answer was always the same. That's when I stopped using even asking AI for proposition.
Mhm. And finally, last question. Based on your experience, one advice would you give someone who is looking to use data more efficiently in their business?
I think it's today it would be worth to actually hire somebody who has experience in data, because a lot of projects that were just implemented by people who were just trying will not deliver the business value. And of course, well, first you need to pick some business goal, just even the smallest running example in your business, and try to automate it.
Mhm.
Start small, because those projects that start big and people expect to do things that are impossible will fail. Just try to select the most common business process, pick something that everybody knows in the company how to do it manually, and try to automate it with data, because only then you will have enough. You will know that this business process is doable, and you can measure the value of that. If you know that at least 1,000 people do it 5 times a week, then you can already calculate the saving. and you have 1,000 people who can tell you if you are doing it correctly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of Data Driven Decision Making podcast and answering all my questions today.
Thank you.